Dime lo que, dime lo que, dime lo que. Captain Zevin here, back at it again with some more One Piece content, and we're at it for episode 2 for What If series. And on this one, what if Eustace Kid was not Luffy's rival? Now, context. You know, it's some people would argue that Luffy's rivals right now are the current Yonko. Other people say it's Law and Kid, or the rest of the Supernova, or the Worst Generation. What I'm talking about is, if we go back to Shabody, they heavily implied that, when all the Supernova showed up, it was like, oh, Luffy, you're not even the toughest guy in town. There's someone else above you, which was Kid, because he had a higher bounty on introduction. And they were just poking at the idea that this guy should be able to not only tangle with Luffy, but be a step above Luffy upon introduction. Now, obviously, you can also look back at that and say, well, Luffy just didn't get a bounty increase anyway because he just beat Moria, who had that same X bounty. So, there's that argument that you can say, but, it was just implied that, and then especially after the auction house, it was the 3 captains that walked out. And it was really cool because Law, I feel like no one was thinking about Law being like a rival right to Luffy. It's like, oh, 200 million. Because back in the day, I remember when bounties were like, a lot lower and closer, Law having a 200 million berry bounty versus Luffy's 300, it would have almost been like, you would have thought, okay, Luffy is definitively stronger than Law. And I feel like it wasn't until the Shabody arc that kind of all started getting skewed up and people started getting out of that context of, oh, bounty means that they're stronger than somebody or whatever, excluding Luffy and his crew. Because going up to this point, Luffy and crew always would have the lower bounties, but they're the main characters, so we always expect them to exceed expectations, but we never expect that from anyone else until Shabody, where now we have all these people with completely different bounties and the number doesn't mean shit. Like, everyone is in the same ballpark and can tangle with each other, and then you get these 3 captains that walk out and they're perceived to be on equal footing. However, everyone's expectation was, okay, that's really great for Law. We didn't see that coming, but we expected that from Kid. There was expectation there. Then we move into New World, and Law and Kid had the highest bounty. Well, Law technically didn't have a bounty coming into New World because he was a warlord, but his X bounty was 400 or for something. I forget what it was exactly. It was 440, I think, and Kid's was 470. But it's like, holy crap, like they were higher than Luffy's 400. And out of all the Supernova, once again, who was at the top? It was Kid. So again, oh, Kid's doing more stuff. Kid is the one that we gotta look out for. And then we have context from Big Mom's thing, that she had an altercation with Kid. And this is when things got kind of crazy. When we found out that all these Supernova that tangle with Big Mom's thing, but to them, the only one that meant anything was Rouge, and Rouge had the lowest or second lowest bounty in Shabody, and it's like, okay, so we really gotta like redefine the whole spectrum. And then we get to Wano, and we're with Kid now, and Luffy and Kid are being perceived as rivals, as equal, as they're doing the same feats right now in the shackles and training or whatever. So, and then we get to the raid, and then again, it's the three captains, Luffy, Law, Kid, doing their thing, and in the community, everyone's saying so much positivity about Law. They're saying things like, I didn't, some people are saying they didn't expect Law to be this good. Some people are like, I'm glad that Law's showing everything that he can do, that, he will always have this capability, or that he had the potential to do this, and the fact he's actually doing it. Nothing but everyone's raving about Law. But then you got right next to him Kid. And it's not the same energy. Everyone's disappointed. Everyone's like, I wish he was doing more. Why is he not doing more with his fruit? Why is he this? Why is he that? And everyone's disappointed that he's next to Law. If anything, a step under Law. And I feel like that's the big reason for that is because perception. Everyone percepted him to be this character that's supposed to be like the Sasuke to Naruto almost, like Luffy is this strong, and so Kid should be right there matching him. Like, I remember a lot of people say they expected Kid to end up having a 1v1 against Big Mom at some point, but that's not the case. It's Kid and Law versus Big Mom. And there's so much people that are just upset about it, saying that he's been a disappointment. Well, what if he was never meant, what if you took out all the perception they ever gave him to be equal to Luffy? You go back to Sabaody. What if instead of 315 bounty, you gave him 270? Oh, he's close. He's like the next highest, but he's not the same level as like what Luffy was. Expectations are brought down, and then when he starts doing stuff next to Luffy, it's like, holy crap, he can do stuff right next to Luffy. You got a different conversation. Fast forward to time skip. Now, like Law had 440, Kid had 470. What if you brought that down to like 450? Or keep it all the same for all you care. But like, we know that we already knew these two were like the next best ones after Luffy. So those numbers is not they're past Luffy. It's, it makes sense. Like, Luffy's been gone for 2 years. And then you get all this concept with what he's been dealing with all the different Yonko. And it's like, oh wow. Now instead of going from dang, Kid can't do anything to the Yonko and just keeps getting rocked everywhere he goes, now you have a concept of, damn, this guy is fighting all these Yonko when we thought it was Luffy that was going to be the one doing all this crazy stuff first. You have a different conversation. Then, especially when you get to right now in the raid in Onigashima, you have Law and Kid doing their thing against Big Mom, and now you're not thinking, wow, I expected more from Kid. Now you're thinking, wow, Kid and Law, they may not be Luffy, but they can do it too. But it's nothing but hype now. And you're happier about it. And all the things that Kid does suddenly is exceeding the expectation. Because now the bar that unfortunately is set right here, that's never being met, is down right next to Law, and suddenly all the stuff he's doing is going over the bar. Now everyone would be happy for all the stuff that Kid is doing, because the expectation would never have been, we expect you to at some point be equal to Luffy. That's not going to be the case, but because the portrayal says that would be the case, that's why the expectation is disappointed, because everyone keeps getting hyped up thinking, okay, so he's supposed to be only like maybe a step behind Luffy, that's it, not a full tier behind them. We expected that of Law, but the fact that he's going above and beyond even that expectation, everyone just is so happy to see that out of him. And because Kid isn't utilizing his fruit as creatively as other people are, and it feels like all we get out of him is this giant metal arm or metal robot to like punch and like do, what one would call basic attacks. It hampers down. And I feel like a part of that is because we all know that Oda is always so creative with all these different people's devil fruits, and you got the a magnetism fruit where you can get really creative, and expectation is he should be equal to Luffy, so his creativity should be, at least the creativity part of it should match that, and that's not what we're getting at all. And to me, it's just because of portrayal purposes that the community as a whole is disappointed in Kid. I'll admit, I wanted to see a little bit more from him. I'm very happy with what we're getting, but my expectation was that we were gonna get different styles of how he uses his devil fruit. Everything he's done is fine. I just expected, more variety with his fruit. And on the rooftop, we actually got some of that because he finally used his fruit. He made that little box to trap Zeus, and then the way he used it to like push Big Mom off after he tanked the, punch right from her. Like, that was amazing. And if we could have kept that kind of stuff going, it would have been fantastic. But, that's not the case. And I mean, but then we did get Awakening. And it was totally different. He made her into a magnet. But I feel like the problem that why some people may not be really satisfied with that is because they may argue and say that they would have expected that to be an ability he can do outside of Awakening, and Awakening be something crazier. I don't know what, but I can't blame him for that expectation because he's been hyped to be at a certain level that, as a community over here, feels like isn't being met. It feels like it's not being met. So if his portrayals treated differently, I feel like as a community we are all much more satisfied with everything that Kid has done. And it sucks because there's no going back. Like, what's done is done. His portrayal's been set in stone. So I'm really expecting and hoping that him and Law defeat Big Mom in this arc, so that they're always at least right there with Luffy. Because, okay, Luffy beat one himself, but Kid and Law beat them together. And again, it's still these guys overcame the Yonko. Like, we gotta remember that this is two people that are overtaking a Yonko. That hasn't been done. It has not been done. So they're, going into this at a certain point on the rooftop, I'm like, wow, so Luffy's finally there. He's actually Yonko level. He's at the bottom, but he's there. Him, Kid, and Law beating Big Mom and Kaido, you have to say Kid and Law are there too. Obviously, they'd be behind Luffy, but they're there. They're doing the thing. And that's something to be happy about. I mean, that's what I want to see. I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know how the raid's gonna end up, but I want to see this with the two old Yonko going down and two new Yonko coming up, Kid and Law, because Luffy's technically already there, or the Goko. They're gonna have to change that. But that wraps it up for this week's episode of What If. And I hope you guys enjoy this. Please leave comments and just throw ideas. Let's see what we can get. I got some more ideas for a couple more episodes, but I want to make it more interactive and see, pick out ideas, see what comes up, and let's just dive into the ether and see what we can come up with. I love doing this. I love talking about my favorite show, and I hope you guys enjoy watching me. Well, that's it. And I will see you in the next time. Like, comment, subscribe. And until then, Captain Zevin is out.